On the land of Kurukshetra that day, the sun felt different, as if even it knew that the battlefield was about to witness a sight that would forever halt the breath of history. The air was heavy. Layers of dust were slowly rising, as though some invisible force had stepped onto the field of war. And then, from afar, the roar of a chariot was heard. Silence fell in all directions. Unease spread through the Pandava army. A flicker of fear appeared in the eyes of the Kauravas. Yes, fear. But why? Because seated on that chariot was a 16-year-old warrior whose eyes reflected a brilliance found only in the gods. His name, Abhimanyu. A warrior who had not yet even shown the world his true power. And today, it was he who was going to break the Kauravas' most terrifying weapon, the Chakravyuha. But he did not know that. He knew how to enter the formation, yet the secret of how to come out had never been told to him. And still, he was going. Why? Because dharma was in crisis. And when dharma calls, age is not considered, sacrifices. Every heartbeat of the battlefield was accelerating. Every line of the Kaurava army was trembling. And for the Pandavas, that moment felt as though time itself had stopped breathing. What was about to happen today had never happened before in the history of Mahabharata. Because today, a lone warrior was about to clash with the entire Kaurava army. And in that moment, even Kurukshetra did not know that in the next few instants, a flame of dharma would ignite that would remain eternal and indelible. After the establishment of Indraprastha, the lives of the Pandavas began to settle. Even while sharing the responsibilities of the new kingdom, Arjuna's heart was drawn towards sacred pilgrimages. One day he thought, peace of mind comes only when the soul sets out on a journey. And so he departed on a holy pilgrimage. His path led him to Somnath, where, by coincidence, Lord Krishna was also present. This meeting of friends erased years of separation. With affection, Krishna said, "Come, Arjuna. Let us go to Dwarka." And the gates of Dwarka opened for Arjuna. In Dwarka, Arjuna was received with extraordinary honor, royal hospitality, love, respect, everything. And it was here that one day he saw her for the first time. Krishna's sister, Subhadra. Her gentleness, purity, and serene smile left an eternal impression on Arjuna's heart. This was not mere love at first sight. It was a calm, deep, unspoken feeling. After a few days, Arjuna gathered the courage to say to Krishna, "I wish to marry Subhadra." Krishna smiled, yet became serious. He explained that according to the scriptures, there is another form of marriage among Kshatriyas, by protection or by abduction. If you truly love Subhadra, take her with you yourself. Hearing this, Arjuna made a firm resolve. One day, Subhadra went to Mount Raivataka for worship. Arjuna was already prepared. When Subhadra saw Arjuna, the same love of first sight sparkled in her eyes. No fear, no hesitation, only gentle trust. Arjuna drove the chariot forward and took Subhadra with him towards Indraprastha. It was a unique union of love, trust, and warrior tradition. When the news reached Dwarka, a wave of anger spread through the Yadava clan. But when Krishna explained everything and made it clear that this was mutual love, everyone calmed down. In the end, all accepted the marriage. Time passed, and on an auspicious day in Indraprastha, Subhadra gave birth to a radiant son, Abhimanyu.
In both Dwarka and Indraprastha, one name very quickly began to become famous: Abhimanyu. Krishna himself would take him into his lap, smile at his little questions, and upon seeing his radiant intellect would often say to Arjuna, "Parth, this child is not ordinary." Abhimanyu's childhood was not an ordinary one. On one hand, he received affection like that of Krishna, and on the other, a father like Arjuna, a true warrior, was refining his talent. At a very young age, Abhimanyu undertook a deep study of the Vedas. His intellect was sharp, his memory extraordinary. But his true brilliance appeared when he began the study of Dhanurveda. One day, Arjuna watched his son sitting in deep meditation just like Karna. He thought, now the time has come to teach him the science of archery. Abhimanyu was filled with enthusiasm. Arjuna began teaching him the 4 quarters of Dhanurveda. Mantra Mukta. Arjuna said, this arrow is released through mantras and no one can stop it. Abhimanyu chanted the mantras and despite his young age, he displayed astonishing skill. Amukta. This is the arrow that is not released. Its mere presence creates fear in the enemy's mind. Abhimanyu's eyes sparkled. Mukta Mukta. This can be sent forth with mantras and if needed can also be called back. This art was the most difficult, yet Abhimanyu mastered it with astonishing speed. Pani Mukta. And this is the warrior's fundamental weapon, releasing the arrow from the bow. Arjuna observed, Abhimanyu's hand was steady, just like his own. When the foundation was complete, Arjuna taught him the 10 limbs of Dhanurveda. Ritual, discipline, technique, speed, focus, everything. Adana, the art of taking an arrow from the quiver. Sandhana, placing the arrow on the bow. Mokshana, releasing the arrow at the target. Vinivartana, the divine art of recalling an arrow. Sthana, knowledge of the bow's center. Mushti, the correct grip. Prayoga, the method of holding the arrow. Prayashchitta, protecting oneself from the bowstring. Mandala, striking a moving target. Rahasya, striking the target using sound alone. Arjuna remained astonished. This child was not merely learning, he was absorbing every discipline into his very being. After Dhanurveda, he practiced the sword, mace, spear, and divine weapons with astonishing mastery. He did not merely know how to wield weapons, he also knew how to create them. This knowledge is possessed by only a rare few. One day, as Arjuna watched Abhimanyu practice, his eyes filled with tears. And in his heart, he thought, I have not seen a warrior like myself today. I have seen one greater than myself.
Abhimanyu was not only a scholar and a warrior. There was a celestial divinity within his personality. He was invincible. Valor flowed in his blood. His shoulders were broad like those of a bull, as if he had been born for war. His face was wide and captivating, like the hood of a serpent. His pride was like a lion's, calm, yet always ready to roar. His courage was like a maddened elephant, unstoppable, never turning back. His voice was like thunder, firm and commanding. His face shone like the full moon, bright, serene and peaceful. And his aura, his courage and beauty were like Krishna himself. After completing 12 long years of exile, the Pandavas spent their 13th year in disguise in the palace of King Virata. In that very Virata Nagra lived a delicate princess, Uttara, the gentle, simple and talented daughter of King Virata. At that time, Arjuna lived in the palace disguised as Brihannala, a eunuch serving as a teacher of dance and music. Uttara respected him deeply. She remained absorbed in learning, enchanted by his melodies, rhythms and refined art. Arjuna too bestowed upon her the affection of a teacher and a father. Time passed. The year came to an end, and the true identities of the Pandavas were revealed to the world. King Virata was overjoyed. Expressing his gratitude, he said, "O son of Kunti, Arjuna, I wish that my daughter Uttara choose you as her husband. Who could be a better groom than you, so wise, so valiant, so righteous?" With a calm smile, Arjuna replied, "Your Majesty, I have taught Uttara dance and music. A teacher holds the position of a father. How can I marry my own disciple?" Virata was astonished. Then Arjuna continued, "But if you wish, I will gladly accept her as my daughter-in-law." And with this, destiny wrote a beautiful chapter in history. the marriage of Abhimanyu and Uttara. Krishna himself arrived from Dwarka, and Yudhishthira, Bhima, Nakula, Sahadeva all blessed the union. The wedding ceremony made all of Viratanagra shine like the heavens themselves. Though the married life of Abhimanyu and Uttara was short, only 6 months, within those 6 months, they forged a bond of love that remains unbroken across lifetimes. They were united by respect, affection, and trust. Then came the day of the Mahabharata that changed everything. Abhimanyu attained heroic martyrdom in battle. And at that very time, Uttara carried in her womb the last heir of the Kuru dynasty. That child would later be known as Parikshit, the surviving light of the Kuru lineage after the Mahabharata. The dust of Kurukshetra was rising, the sound of conch shells was tearing through the sky, and young Abhimanyu, radiant like his father Arjuna, was stepping onto the battlefield for the first time. Even before the battle began, it was decided that Abhimanyu would face the king of Kosala, Brihadbala, and Duryodhana's son Lakshmana. He was young, yet his splendor burned like the blazing sun.
On the very first day, Abhimanyu faced the king of Kosala, Brihadbala, a descendant of Lord Rama himself. Yet the irony was this: the descendant of Dharma stood on the side of Adharma in this war. Between the colliding wheels of their chariots, a rain of arrows began to pour. Brihadbala struck the first blow. He severed Abhimanyu's banner. Abhimanyu smiled. With a swift and powerful strike, he destroyed Brihadbala's guards, then his charioteer, and finally his banner as well. In the end, he wounded the king with 9 precise arrows. After this, he turned toward Bhishma Acharya. Bhishma was performing a fierce onslaught. The Pandava army was breaking apart. Abhimanyu attacked with a thunderous roar. Warriors like Shalya and Kritavarma came forward to stop him, but none could restrain the young lion. Abhimanyu struck Bhishma with 9 arrows and cut down his banner. A warrior like Bhishma was forced to take refuge in divine weapons. Such was the overwhelming power of this adolescent warrior. On the second day, Abhimanyu surrounded Duryodhana's son Lakshmana in battle. The situation became so grave that Duryodhana himself came forward to protect his son. Even he was shaken by Abhimanyu's ferocity. On the fourth day, Arjuna launched his attack upon Bhishma. Duryodhana, Kripacharya, Shalya, Vivinshati, Somadatta all rushed forward to protect Bhishma. Just then, Abhimanyu reached his father's chariot. The sight on the battlefield was unparalleled, as if 2 Arjunas together were annihilating the enemy. In mere moments, father and son together slaughtered 10,000 Kaurava soldiers. Abhimanyu noticed the Magadha elephant corps charging toward Bhima. With a swift arrow, he struck down the lead elephant to alert Bhima. Bhima then destroyed the remaining elephants. On the 5th day, Abhimanyu faced Bhishma, Drona, and Shalya, all 3, and when the day came to an end, it was found that Abhimanyu had slain the greatest number of Kaurava soldiers. He wounded Lakshmana once again. Shalya had to come forward to protect him. On the 6th day, Bhima and Drishtadyumna were left alone in the midst of the Kaurava army. Yudhishthira's concern grew. He sent Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu formed a battle formation as sharp as the tip of a needle and pierced through the Kaurava ranks as if a thunderbolt had fallen. Dronacharya was killing Drishtadyumna's horses. Abhimanyu leapt forward, rescued Drishtadyumna, and seated him upon his own chariot. After this, a fierce battle erupted between Abhimanyu and Vikarna. On the 7th day, 3 Kauravas, Dushsasana, Vikarna, and Chitrasena, attacked Abhimanyu together. Abhimanyu broke all 3 of their bows, killed their charioteers, slaughtered their horses, yet did not take their lives, because of his vow that only Bhima held the right to slay the Kauravas. Even at the end of the day, Abhimanyu stopped Bhishma,
once again.
On the 9th day, the Kaurava army began to flee in fear. Abhimanyu's assault was so ferocious that even Drona and Kripacharya were forced to retreat, and Ashwathama and Jayadratha could not even come near. Then arrived the demon Alambusha. He began fighting while invisible and covered the entire Pandava army in darkness. Abhimanyu released a divine weapon. The darkness vanished. He destroyed Alambusha's magical power. The demon became visible. The Pandavas attacked him and he fled. That day, Arjuna and Abhimanyu together pressed Bhishma back. Many sons of Dhritarashtra ran forward to protect him. That night, Bhishma Acharya said to Arjuna, "Partha, your son Abhimanyu is a miracle. At times he appears even more brilliant than you. You are a truly fortunate father." On the 10th day, Abhimanyu and Dhrishtadyumna launched a coordinated assault. On this very day, the great Bhishma Acharya fell and withdrew from the war by his own will. On the 11th day, the Kauravas formed the Shakata formation. Abhimanyu broke through it alone and cut down 100 soldiers. Jayadratha was forced to flee the battlefield. Shalya released a blazing arrow of fire. Abhimanyu caught it with his hand and hurled it back at Shalya. The arrow killed his horses and charioteer. Shalya had just lifted his mace when Bhima intervened and stopped him. On the 12th day, the great warrior of the Kaurava side, Bhagadatta, arrived. With him was a gigantic elephant, as huge as a mountain and as terrifying as death itself. To escape its assault, Bhima had to hide beneath the elephant's belly. That same elephant destroyed Abhimanyu's chariot, yet Abhimanyu still survived, unshaken, unwavering, and ready for battle. In the history of Kurukshetra, a day arrived that granted a teenage warrior fame equal to Arjuna and Lord Krishna himself. That day was the 13th day of war, the most decisive day of Abhimanyu's life and of the Mahabharata. After the fall of Bhishma Acharya, the command of the Kaurava army was handed over to Dronacharya, and it was the 3rd day since he had become commander-in-chief. On this day, he took a decision that made the hearts of the Pandavas tremble: the formation of the Chakravyuha. Under the blood-red sky, between dust and sun, when the Chakravyuha rose, the entire battlefield appeared like a terrifying wheel of fire. Dronacharya issued commands to the Kaurava army, and within moments, at the center of the battlefield, a massive wheel, a rotating lotus-shaped formation emerged. It possessed some extraordinary and deadly features. A formation shaped like a giant lotus, designed to confuse the enemy. The deeper one entered, the more complex and dangerous it became. At its center sat Duryodhana himself, hidden in the most secure position, surrounded on all sides by Maharathis. In every petal of the formation stood kings and great warriors of the Kaurava side. Fearsome fighters, masters of divine weapons, rows upon rows of kings locked within this rotating wheel. A grand crimson signal, red banners on every chariot, red garments on every warrior, red gemstones on their ornaments, as if the entire wheel of death had been dyed in blood. Dronacharya, the storm standing at the gateway of the formation, he himself was guarding the outer layer of the Chakravyuha. Until a warrior defeated Dronacharya, entry into the formation was impossible.
When the Chakravyuha began to advance toward the Pandavas, its speed, its rotating force, and the hidden blows concealed within it were so terrifying that everything that came into contact with it was being destroyed. Horses were being cut down, chariots were shattering, infantry soldiers were turning into dust and blood. Bhima was at the forefront. Behind him advanced Yudhishthira, Nakula, Sahadeva, Ghatotkacha, and a vast number of Maharathis leading the Pandava army forward. But Dronacharya, he stood like a solitary, colossal tree blocking the path of the entire army. The Pandava forces, numbering in the hundreds of thousands, charged upon the formation, yet the arrows released from Dronacharya's bow fell as though the sky itself were raining lightning. Within moments, thousands of Pandava soldiers lay fallen. In Arjuna's absence, the formation had become invincible. Breaking the Chakravyuha was no ordinary skill. Only 4 great warriors knew how to breach it: Krishna, Pradyumna, son of Krishna, Arjuna, and Abhimanyu. According to some chroniclers, Bhima too could have broken the Chakravyuha through Vishnu mantras, but Bhima did not choose that path. For dharma, for the code of war, he resolved not to use his mantra power. The Kauravas already understood that Arjuna and Krishna would shatter the defense of the Chakravyuha in an instant. Therefore, they devised a terrifying plan: the Samsaptakas. The warriors of Trigarta were made to swear an oath to kill Arjuna. They continuously drove Arjuna away from the battlefield, as far from the Chakravyuha as possible. This was Dronacharya's true objective. When the Pandavas saw that Arjuna was far away and the Chakravyuha was devouring their army, Yudhishthira turned to Abhimanyu and said, "Break the formation. Only you can do this." Abhimanyu's young heart ignited like fire, a spark in his eyes, the resolution of war in his breath. Yet he paused for a moment and spoke like a true warrior. "I know only how to enter, Maharaj. I do not know how to come out." Yudhishthira placed his hand on his shoulder. "Do not worry, we are all right behind you. You just create a breach in the formation. We will enter immediately after you." That assurance filled Abhimanyu like a bolt of lightning. He stepped forward, like a god, without hesitation, without fear. Abhimanyu read the motion of the Chakravyuha, searched within its rotating petals for the moment when a point of the formation became weakest. His charioteer panicked. "Prince, please think once more. Dronacharya stands ahead, a storm of war." Abhimanyu laughed, a calm, radiant, unwavering laugh. And he said, "What of Dronacharya? Even Indra seated on Airavata, or Rudra himself, will not be able to stop me today. This entire Kaurava army is merely 1/16th of my power." Saying this, he lifted his bow and the chariot surged through the battlefield. Dronacharya for 2 full ghatis attempted to stop Abhimanyu, but the young warrior's speed was like a tempest, his power like the Ashwamedha, unstoppable. Abhimanyu ripped open the Chakravyuha and entered within.
The moment Abhimanyu entered inside, Jayadratha closed the gate of the formation from behind instantly. Now for the Pandavas, entry into the formation became impossible, and Abhimanyu was left alone amidst the Kaurava army at the center of the terrifying Chakravyuha, a lone, 16-year-old invincible warrior. Jayadratha was no ordinary warrior. He had received a boon from Lord Shiva himself. "If Arjuna and Krishna are not present, you alone will be able to hold back the remaining Pandavas in battle." It was by the power of this boon that he closed the gate of the Chakravyuha behind Abhimanyu, and from that moment began the most dreadful chapter of Kurukshetra. As soon as Abhimanyu reached inside, the great Kaurava warriors charged at him from all directions. But Abhimanyu had become a blazing inferno on the battlefield. At the very onset, Abhimanyu wounded the horses of Vrishasena and severed his bow. In response, Vrishasena struck at Abhimanyu's horses, forcing the charioteer to pull the chariot back. Abhimanyu withdrew for a few moments, but only for a few moments. He returned and struck down the warrior named Vasati with a direct blow. The Kauravas surrounded him once again, but Abhimanyu was no longer a mere warrior. He had transformed into a life-taking form like Yamaraja himself.
Heads were flying, limbs were scattering, the roar of chariots was drowning, and warriors were retreating in fear. Abhimanyu roamed within the Chakravyuha like a raging storm. Many kings fell by his hands. Seeing his speed, no one on the Kaurava side had the courage even to raise their eyes toward him. Satyashrava was slain. Along with him, many great warriors who had come with him fell, one by one, as if a massive whale were swallowing an entire school of fish in a single gulp. Whoever reached Abhimanyu never returned. The entire Chakravyuha began to tremble like a ship trapped in a storm. Shalya's son, Rukmarata, struck Abhimanyu and wounded him. In response, Abhimanyu killed Rukmarata. Abhimanyu's speed now became even more ferocious. Hundreds of princes had already been slain. Seeing this, Duryodhana's blood ran cold with fear. He himself came forward to fight Abhimanyu, but could not withstand him even for a few moments and was forced to retreat. The eyes of the Kaurava soldiers dried up. No one wished to fight anymore. They were only searching for a way to escape. Dronacharya, Ashwatthama, Brihadbala, Kripacharya, Karna, Kritavarma, Shakuni all attacked Abhimanyu together. Yet Abhimanyu pushed them back. Seeing this, the battlefield itself trembled. Such a heroic warrior is born only once in many ages. Duryodhana's son Lakshmana came forward to fight Abhimanyu. Duryodhana stood behind him, continuously calling great warriors to protect his son. Abhimanyu said, "Lakshmana, look upon this world one last time. I am about to send you to the realm of Yama." A serpent-shaped arrow was released, and in a single moment, Lakshmana's head was severed from his body. Duryodhana screamed in madness, "Kill him! He has slain my son!"
Dronacharya, Kripacharya, Karna, Ashwatthama, Brihadbala, Kritavarma, 6 Maharathis once again surrounded Abhimanyu. Alone, Abhimanyu wounded all of them. His arrows pierced Karna's ear once again, killed Kripacharya's horses and guards, wounded Ashwatthama with 25 arrows, and in the midst of all this, he killed Vrindaraka, killed Brihadbala, slaughtered 10,000 soldiers, killed Ashwatetu and the king of Bhoja. Even Karna's 6 ministers were slain by Abhimanyu. Dushasan's son wounded Abhimanyu's horses and charioteer. Abhimanyu roared, "Your father fled like a coward. It is good that you fight, but you will not leave this place alive." Abhimanyu had turned into fire itself. He killed Shatrujaya, Chandraketu, Meghavega, Suvarcha, and Suryabhasa. Shakuni said to Duryodhana, "If we do not stop him together, he will kill all of us." Karna, shaken, said to Drona, "Tell us what to do now. He is destroying us one by one." Dronacharya replied calmly, "There is no flaw in his combat. He is a danger even to my own life. He is no different from Arjuna, the same radiance, the same skill." Karna said again, "His fire-like arrows are burning my chest." Dronacharya smiled. Abhimanyu's armor is impenetrable. This is Arjuna's teaching. This is what he learned from him. At last, Dronacharya revealed to Karna the sorrowful method to kill Abhimanyu. Before the war began on the field of Kurukshetra, both sides had mutually agreed upon certain unbreakable rules. These rules were the soul of righteous warfare, to preserve justice, equality, and honor. According to the scriptures, a chariot warrior must fight a chariot warrior. An elephant-mounted warrior must fight an elephant-mounted. A horseman must fight a horseman, and a foot soldier must fight a foot soldier. No attack should be made from behind. No blow should be struck upon the unarmed. No attack should be made upon a warrior fleeing in fear. Combat must be equal. These rules are clearly written in the verses of the Bhishma Parva. This was the dharma accepted by both sides. But on the 13th day, Dronacharya, Karna, and the remaining Maharathis, one by one, mercilessly broke every single one of these rules. When Abhimanyu was roaring like a lion at the center of the Chakravyuha, the Kaurava side trembled in fear. Then Dronacharya said to Karna, "Go behind him and strike." This was a direct violation. Vimukho na hantavya. One should not attack from behind. Karna obeyed the command. He came behind Abhimanyu and fired an arrow from the rear, cutting the string of his bow. For the first time, Abhimanyu stood on the brink of being unarmed. Dronacharya then said, "Kill his horses, kill his charioteer, destroy his chariot, break his bow. When he becomes unarmed, then kill him." This was a complete inversion of the laws of war. Kshina shastro nahantavyaha. An unarmed warrior must not be attacked. But the Kauravas trampled dharma beneath their feet.
The moment Abhimanyu's bow was broken, 6 Maharathis, Dronacharya, Karna, Kripacharya, Ashwathama, Kritavarma, and Brihadbala, later replaced by Dushasana's son, all together rained down arrows upon him. This too was a violation of the rules, many warriors attacking an unarmed opponent at once. Abhimanyu immediately leapt down from the chariot and picked up a sword and shield. Like Garuda in flight, he charged toward Drona. But Dronacharya cut down the sword in his hand. Karna shattered the shield. The rule of not attacking an unarmed warrior with weapons was broken yet again. Still, Abhimanyu did not stop. He lifted a massive wheel from his shattered chariot and with a lion's roar advanced toward Dronacharya. The sight was extraordinary, as if Krishna's Sudarshana chakra had descended onto the battlefield and a mere adolescent had lifted it. In fear, the Kaurava Maharathis together shattered the wheel. Abhimanyu picked up a mace and charged at Ashwathama. Terrified, Ashwathama pulled his chariot back 3 steps. Abhimanyu's mace killed Ashwathama's horses and guards. The 6 Maharathis returned together once more. Now, in place of Brihadbala, Dushasana's son Dushasani had joined their ranks. Abhimanyu smashed Dushasani's chariot to pieces with his mace. The two fell upon each other. The mace fight was so terrible that the very earth of the battlefield trembled. Both fell to the ground. Dushasani rose first. With all his strength, he struck Abhimanyu on the head with his mace. The blow was so devastating that Abhimanyu became motionless right there on the ground, and the flow of his life came to a halt. On the 13th day, the greatest injustice of the war occurred. All the boundaries of Dharma were broken one by one. But Abhimanyu's saga of valor was so radiant that his death did not give birth to the Kauravas' victory, but to their destruction. His martyrdom became the cause of Arjuna's vow, and the direction of the Mahabharata war was changed forever. When Abhimanyu fell upon the sands of Kurukshetra, it was not merely a hero who fell. An unfinished chapter of an eternal legend lay down in silence upon the earth. The Mahabharata encapsulates this episode in a single line, Evam vinihato rajan eko bahubirahave. An invincible warrior, unjustly slain by a group of cowards. That was the conclusion. That was the distinction between justice and injustice. Later, Krishna said to Vasudeva, if Abhimanyu had fought each of them one by one without interruption, he alone would have killed them all. Not just them, even Indra himself could not have defeated him. The battlefield bore witness to his valor. Broken banners of chariots buried in dust, severed flags, the cries of elephants, and thousands of fallen warriors were proof of Abhimanyu's invincibility. A single adolescent alone had destroyed 8,000 chariots. He brought down one by one thousands of kings, soldiers, elephants, and horses. This was not human capability. This was divinity. This was destiny.
Abhimanyu was not merely the son of Arjuna. He was the incarnation of Soma, the son of Chandradeva, a radiant star of the Kuru lineage born upon the earth.
When he was sent to the mortal world, Chandradeva had said, "My son, you shall return to me in your 16th year." Abhimanyu's life was short because he had come with an incarnational purpose, to shake through a single death the sins of the Mahabharata, the power of adharma, and the arrogance of the Kauravas. His heroic martyrdom became one of the most powerful moral sparks in history. Abhimanyu's uncles, Bhima, Yudhishthira, Nakula, Sahadeva, all were submerged in grief. Everywhere there was weeping, rage, and an unspoken pain waiting for Arjuna to return. At that moment, Vyasji arrived there. Compassion shone in his eyes, divine calm resonated in his voice. He said, "Do not grieve. Abhimanyu has reached the heavenly realms. The gods have welcomed him. He has gone to those worlds where only the greatest warriors may enter." A divine radiance rose from his body and dissolved into the sky. He was in those realms where there is no death, only immortality. Abhimanyu was not merely a martyr. He is a lamp of dharma, standing alone in the midst of the battlefield, the very embodiment of valor. His legend still echoes today, a young warrior who at the age of 16 changed the direction of history. Abhimanyu did not die, he became the soul of the Mahabharata. If this great saga of Abhimanyu has touched your heart, if the story of this brave youth has awakened within you waves of reverence, courage, and emotion, then please like this video, share it with your friends and family, and do not forget to subscribe to our channel for more such wonderful, enlightening, and inspiring stories. With your small support, we gain the strength to bring more such divine kathas to you. Thank you. Jai Shri Krishna.